Hey guys, Mono here with a new guide focused on new players launching Hell Let Loose for the first time. So this is going to be like a guide for your first 10 minutes with the game to make sure you have fun and you have a good time enjoying this game, which can be hard to enjoy if you don't know what's going on, if you don't have any information, and unfortunately, the game itself does not provide any really good tutorial or any information that's going to help you enjoy it. So, for example, you see here the field manual. This is like a dictionary, so this is not going to help you understand the game or learn how to play. It says how to play, but no. It is like reading a car owner's manual to learn how to drive. Obviously, that's not going to teach you how to drive. This won't teach you how to play Hell Let Loose or even understand what's going on. All right, there is no context for the information here presented. There's no relative importance given to the different things. For example, the garrisons here, they are talked about here. There's not even a picture of what they look like. So yeah, not the best. Do not spend time on the field manual. There are better resources for that. You can check out my beginner's guide on YouTube. And I'm not just saying this because I made that video. There's also other resources like on the Reddit, on the subreddit, there's the new player guide, which is fantastic. But all of those are better options for you to spend time in than the field manual. All right. First of all, we want to go to options. And I think this is only on PC. I don't think it's on console. There is the dead bodies despawn delay. You want to set this at 0.5 minutes because even the beefiest PCs will struggle if you increase this. Maybe you can set it to like 1 minute or 2 minutes, but setting it at the maximum of 5, for example, when there's a lot of action and a lot of bodies, your PC is going to start to chug and really struggle with the game. Now, the other setting that we really want to pay attention to is the nameplates. These are going to be the icons on your allies, on the people on your team. So you want to set this at 250 meters if you're playing infantry. If you set it at 500, it's going to be all right, but you know, that's a distance that you don't really want to engage with or pay attention to if you're playing infantry. So that's just going to be a distraction. I would rather set this at 250. Do set it at 500 if you will be tanking. And the opacity, you want to put it somewhere around the middle, because if you go full opacity, I find it to be just too much screen clutter. I wish there was actually a size slider, which there isn't, because they are quite big. So yeah, these settings, or roughly these settings, will allow you to see what's going on with the other players in your team. And more specifically, when those blue icons go darker, that means they got shot and they died. And that's going to teach you a lot about what's going on and where the enemy is located at. And I think that's also one of the things that a lot of new players struggle with in the game. If you're on PC, you want to go to video settings, and depending on your PC specs and so on, you will want to change these. And I've done a video guide on this, which I will link to down in the video description. But basically, shadow quality is the biggest performance hit. So put this at either low or medium. The difference in video quality between low and medium is quite significant. So put it at medium if you can, and if not, put it at low if you're struggling for performance. The anti-alias method, you want to run community TAA. Some people like clarity. I really like community. I think clarity is like over sharpened and you can get some shimmering, especially on foliage, which I really don't like. I find it very distracting. Community is, I think, widely regarded as the best setting. And anti-alias quality, always keep this on epic, because going any lower than epic is gonna impact the visuals of the game significantly. So do keep this on epic. And if you wanna play around with the other settings or watch that video, then please do so. All right, then we have the barracks. You don't really wanna hit this. This is to change the appearance and loadouts of your classes and, you know, check them out and stuff like that, but you won't really have anything unlocked here. So let's just not pay attention to that. Now let's go here to Enlist, which is going to be the server browser for PC. On console, you will have the matchmaking option. I don't know if there's going to be server browser added in the future. I don't think the dev team even knows that. It's something that they are exploring and they probably want to do, but there's obviously going to be some feasibility things going on. So yeah, on PC, you can find different servers, and you will notice that some servers are running offensive mode and some are running warfare mode. Offensive is like the breakthrough mode in Battlefield where one team defends and the other attacks, and warfare mode is like conquest, though there are some very, very significant differences between the way basically all the modes work, which is that in Helldus, all the spawn points are player built. And that is a significant difference that I think confuses a lot of people in terms of where you can expect to find the enemies on the map and just the overall flow of the game. So now I'm jumping into a server and I will walk you through the process of your first like 5 minutes into the game and understanding what's going on in that specific match. So we are presented with the like select team screen. Let's just choose whatever, choosing the Germans here, and you will see that you cannot deploy. So this button is grayed out. You need to be in a squad to be able to deploy. So we can just browse around and see what squads we can join. At the beginning of a match, this will be mostly unpopulated as some people start creating squads. If you create a squad, you will be forced into the role of squad leader. And the reason for that is that this is the most important class in the entire game. Running a squad without an officer is just a waste of everyone's time, really. And that squad without an officer is gonna be, they're just not gonna impact the game in any meaningful capacity. And it basically boils down to the inability of that squad to create spawn points, which can be created by the squad leader. So let's just jump into a random squad here, and we can choose different classes of soldier here, right? So rifleman, assault, automatic rifleman, and so on. Screen is shaking because of the artillery, which is kind of weird, but let's just pick the support class here, which is the most important class besides the officer, because I can deploy a box of supplies, and that box of supplies can be used to build these spawn points. All of these spawn points were built by a player. The only spawn points that are default, that are always there, are the HQ spawns. So I see a lot of people complaining that this is like a running simulator. You have to run from HQ and you end up running a lot. And that's because they must have played in a game where nobody built a garrison. And yes, if that's the case, you will have to spawn here and just run a lot to get to the action. And I will go over like where you can expect the action to actually be, because it's not going to be in this red area necessarily. This is not where the most of the enemy team is going to be located at, because again, all of the spawn points here are player built. So unlike something like Conquest and Battlefield, where if you cap a sector, you get to spawn there, that is not the case in Helldus. If we manage to capture a network here, we will not be able to spawn there. We will only be able to spawn at these locations which were already built by other players. The way you can build these, which are team-wide spawns, you can see there are these spawns, which are garrisons. Those are for the entire team. And then there are these triangle spawns, which are outposts. You can only spawn at the outpost corresponding to your squad. My squad currently doesn't have an outpost, which is really bad. So we can't spawn there. And the importance of that is that the outpost can just, the squad leader can just create an outpost. I will go over that in a minute without needing supplies or anything. So he can just create that. And the spawn wave timer on the outpost is 20 seconds, while it is 40 seconds on a garrison. Having multiple garrisons negates the problem of that 40-second spawn wave. For example, this one, you can see if I deploy, I'm going to have to wait 30 seconds. But if I keep clicking around, I can spawn here in 10 seconds. I can spawn here, well, I just missed that spawn wave, and so on. So having multiple garrisons is extremely beneficial for multiple reasons. It keeps you alive longer. It means you redeploy faster, so you're alive longer than you are just looking at the redeploy screen. They light up red. For example, this one, this outpost, it says enemy near. So the more you have of these, the more you have like a sort of radar network showing where the enemy is coming from. Currently, we know there are no enemies east of Hugo's farm, which is the point we need to defend. So that, that's really good. Knowing that is really good. That means I can freely spawn here or here or here and know that I'm not going to instantly get killed. Also, if you only have like one garrison or two, for example, and you spawn in one and you constantly get killed, not having another garrison or another spawn point is obviously going to be really bad, because you're just going to spawn and die constantly, which is something that really happens in Helldus. Now our squad leader dropped this outpost, so I can spawn there, and I will spawn there as support. I will show you the box of supplies that is needed for creating a garrison. So if I drop a box here, and if we were in the blue area of the map, that's all you need to create a garrison. So it takes 20 seconds to create a garrison because the squad leader can put the outpost, 20 seconds later a support player can spawn, and boom, you have a spawn for the entire team to be able to help you. Now, a couple of points here. This tall grass will hide your movement, but regular grass will not. And that is also something that I see a lot of people struggle. So if there's a guy standing there and I'm just doing this, this grass is probably not gonna hide me. Same goes for this grass. The fact that I can't see that, like if you look at far away, the grass is not really rendered. So this grass does not provide cover. That is extremely important to know. A lot of people complain about that, but that's just the way it is. And it's always gonna be that way. And yeah, so let's just redeploy here. Redeploying also is something that you should do often when you need to fall back, for example, or stuff like that. It is not something that you should consider as like a bad thing. Like suiciding in this game is not bad. You will have to do it very often to just teleport yourself to a better location that is expected, all right? So let's talk a bit about how you actually cap these sectors. In offensive mode, you can only cap the sector from here, from the black circle. So that's the mode that is like breakthrough, where one team is pushing and the other one is defending. This is not that mode, this is warfare. And in warfare mode, you can capture from, like you start capping the weight. Let's use a different color there. You start putting pressure on the cap sector if you're in the 4 squares surrounding the point. And the way you know which 4 squares they are is you start at the edge of the map and you count 4 squares here and 4 squares here and so on. And that is how you know where you can cap each sector from. I wish the UI was better indicating this. Unfortunately, it is not. And I'd say this is the single most like misunderstood piece of information about Hell Let Loose. So all of these players are currently starting to capture a network or putting their cap weight in a network. And the way this works is every player counts as 1, right? Inside the sector, you count as 1. If you're inside the black circle, you count as 3. So if the enemy, for example, has 5 people inside the black circle, that's going to count as 15 players inside the cap sector. If my team has 16 players outside the cap sector, we are going to start capping because we have more people. Capturing in warfare mode takes 2 minutes. That cannot be sped up. So if there's no enemies and there's 1 of us, we will cap in 2 minutes. And if there's 50 of us, we will cap also in 2 minutes. Now, a good way to understand what the flow of a game is going to be like is to draw an imaginary line across these sectors like this. And that's going to be basically where most of the people are going to be playing in. Now, remember, the people are going to spawn at whatever spawns they have. So currently, the enemy team could have a spawn here and they could be attacking Hugo's farm from behind, which might seem like it's not super logical, but that's the way it is. Just like we have an outpost here, meaning we can attack from here. We could also have a garrison here like we have a garrison here, and we could be attacking from behind the enemy team and in fact flanking and attacking from the flanks and not just spawning here and going straight into this point. Doing the flank is going to be way more effective very often than just doing this. So that is basically the flow of the game. The game revolves around building and destroying the enemy spawn points, building your own and destroying the enemy ones. And that is basically all you want to do in the game. You want to have always garrisons around the point because that radar feature is going to, like when the enemy is close, it's going to light up. It's going to let you know that there's enemies around. So this radar feature, that's gonna tell you where the enemy is, and that is very, very valuable information. Another way to know where the enemy is just listening to the gunshots. Listen, pay attention, use headphones. Do not play this game with PC speakers or anything. Use headphones. They are incredibly important, and they will let you know where the enemy is by just listening to gunshots. And that is the basic flow of the game. Now, there are a lot of different roles and classes that in the squad. So for example, if we go here to change role, you will see that we have the rifleman, the assault class, the automatic rifleman. The medic is mostly useless. I've done videos on this in the past. It is just like the way the spawn mechanics work in this game renders the medic ineffective. Some people disagree with me, but that's, I think, the way it is. And you should think about these loadouts more, about these classes more in terms of the kit that they provide than the actual name. So the assault class, for example, gets a satchel on this last loadout, and that is incredibly good for destroying enemy tanks. And you wouldn't necessarily expect that from the assault class. You would expect that from the anti-tank class, right? So yeah, take a look at what the kit offers more than just reading the name. Now, for the most part, you always want to have an officer, like yes, 100% all the time. If you join a squad that does not have an officer, please take the officer role. And please use your outpost and try and build garrisons. If you don't understand how to do it or anything, just ask around. Most people playing the game are really nice and they will help new players a lot. So definitely don't be afraid to use the voice chat. But yeah, you want to have an anti-tank, you want to have a support all the time because there are a lot of vehicles in the game and you do want to have access to something like a bazooka or a satchel charge, which is going to destroy basically any tank. If you have the bazooka or the Panzerschreck, aim at the back of the tank. Most tanks will not take damage from the side unless they are light tanks. So any Sherman or Panzer or Tiger or whatever you see that is like an actual tank, it's not going to take damage from the side. You want to hit it from the back. At least that's the way it is currently. You can damage the tracks, but that doesn't really do much. So yeah, there is that. Another thing to keep in mind is that only the armor squads can get into the tanks. So if you're infantry, you cannot even get into the tank. And you do not ever want to drive a tank alone because you will get destroyed very, very, very easily. So if you can, tank in a 3-man crew, at the very least, tank in a 2-man crew. And if you're a solo crew, then go do something else instead of just taking a resource like a tank and getting it destroyed, because you will get it destroyed very easily. So that's the basics of the game. You want to always have an officer, you want to always have supplies, and you want to keep your spawn points up as much as possible and have as many of them as possible. And if you're thinking about where to build them, then refer to this little imaginary drawing of the sectors and just build them around, this general area. That's going to be good enough. And that is going to be it, guys. One more tip that I have for you is that if you're having problems with the microphone getting recognized or something, if you go to options, you need to do this in a server, by the way. You can't do this in outside of a server. You press check here and you can select what device you want to use. In the future, there's going to be volume sliders for the different chats. There is a command chat, a squad chat, and a proximity chat. The proximity chat cannot be heard by enemy team, by the enemy players, so feel free to use it. So one last tip that I have for you guys is to press the T key on PC, or you can hold right D-pad on console to bring up the heads-up display, basically the information about the capture sectors, where they are. You can see that in right there. And if the squad leader or other people use markers, you can see those very easily like this. You can ping the map also if you want to mark a position, and you can see that as well. And also, I didn't show this, but to build an outpost, you just use your watch as squad leader, and you want to build the outpost. You don't want to put it in the middle of the open like I am here. You want to put it like a bit hidden somewhere. So maybe there. Remember that people are going to spawn standing up. So, ideally they shouldn't be spawning in the middle of anywhere that they can get shot from. And you can see there's 100 supplies here that you can see again by pressing the T key. And to build a garrison, you just mouse wheel to change this. I'm not sure what the command is on console, but it's basically the same. And again, you want to hide these as much as possible. It's not super important for you to hide them, but like don't build them in the middle of a road or something, you know? So yeah, you can rotate them and fit them someplace, and then you just build the garrison. It's very easy, and that is all you need to do. This is the American garrison. I will show you also the German garrison, so you can recognize them. If you see these from the other team, you need to do everything you can to destroy them. Destroying one of these is like killing, I don't know, 50 enemy soldiers or something. All right, and that's gonna be it, guys. Please give the video a like if you enjoyed it. That's gonna help other people see the video, new players see the video, so that's really important. And as always, thank you for watching, and I hope I will catch you in the next one.